Hi, beautiful souls. I believe you're doing the best with what you got. If you already watched my first video introducing the Elysians, I hope you're not surprised by my little voice here. The story of the Elysians demanded the thunderous cosmic narrator voice for dramatic effect. So I took the help of AI for the very first video. But behind this channel though, it is just me, Simi. And you will hear more of me going forward. I'm a human, and I chose to be anonymous to keep the emphasis on the content and not the creator. I love solving SQL problems with a little twist of pattern hacking that makes learning feel more natural and a little more fun. If you're wondering why pattern hacking and why not just understand the logic to solve it, well, that's a fair question. Pattern hacking is also solved with logic, but it is tapping into your natural ability as a human. Pattern hacking does two things. One, it reminds you of similar patterns and known keywords, so you do not invest your time and energy into other forms of solutions. In other words, it makes you faster to solve than otherwise, which is very important for time-sensitive interviews. 2. Confidence boost. You will no longer freeze during the technical SQL interview if you master these patterns with practice. Confidence alone will make or break the interview, as you know. Now, before we go further, and I want to pause and tell you a very interesting story that gives you the gist of why pattern hacking is so important for us. It was 1983, the Cold War. Deep in the night, Soviet military computers suddenly lit up. Incoming nuclear missiles from America. The alarms were screaming. The data was clear. The protocols were unambiguous. Every system, every screen, every signal pointing to one conclusion. This is a real attack. Respond now. A military officer named Stanislav Petrov was on duty that night. His job was not to question the system. His job was to trust it and report it to the higher authority. But something made him pause, just for a moment, and in that pause he asked himself a quiet question. Does this actually make sense? The screens showed only 5 missiles. And he thought, if a country were truly launching a nuclear war, would they send only a handful of missiles? That doesn't make sense. In that highly stressful moment, his mind looked for a pattern that is more probable during a war. So he made the toughest decision of his life that no protocol ever prepared him for. He reported it as a false alarm. Hours later, he was right. A satellite had mistaken sunlight reflecting off clouds for missile launches. A huge system glitch that decides life or death, and in this case, for countries. Because if that one man's decision had gone differently, blindly following the automated system protocol, you and I might not be even here having this conversation today. That's not a small thing. This man saved the world and never sought recognition for it either. He was very humble. He later said, "It was just part of my duty that day. It wasn't a smarter machine that caught the mistake. It wasn't a better algorithm. It wasn't the automation, not the faster processor. It was one human being who looked deeper and who recognized a pattern the machine simply couldn't see." This is the power of a human brain detecting patterns. So in my humble opinion, tools will keep changing. Technology will keep evolving. The AI boom is currently the talk of the town, but the ability to think, to learn, to adapt, to create, to recognize patterns, and to ask the right question at the right time, that will always remain human. And it will always be valuable. Querytur simply applies that same natural ability you have inherently inside of you to learn SQL, or in our channel we call it Querytur. In this channel, the cosmic fictional story of Elysians has revealed that a database is referred to as Aetherial Archive and SQL is referred to as Querytur. The human brain is fundamentally a pattern recognition and a prediction machine. Intelligence is largely the ability to recognize the patterns. When learning SQL many years ago, my biggest pain point was shifting my focus from one practice question to another, which also meant moving too quickly from one database to a whole another database. Instead of focusing on the pattern recognition and logic, I would get familiar with the new database, new schema, different tables, different columns, different structure, etc. This pain point is the reason I'm here on YouTube today. I thought if I could keep your attention on one storyline, one database, and table structure, you will master the SQL logic much sooner. Your focus stays on the pattern recognition rather than understanding of the database each time. Once you master the patterns, then you can more easily solve other questions even on different databases. Key is to recognize the repeated patterns. In the next video, I will introduce you to the mighty Elysians who transformed themselves for this Querytur project, each serving a specific purpose. Remember on this channel, right? You can read the description of the channel, but we are learning through a storyline. We have a nice storyline, nice characters, so we remember, our human brain remembers stories very well. If you haven't watched the very first video on this channel yet, I do highly recommend you watch it. It gives you the background story of Elysians and Querytur to make everything more meaningful. I hope you learned something today. This is Simi, and I'll see you in the next video.